You guys are listening to the Jordan Garber Now podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Jordan Garber Now here. Obviously, you hear it every week on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And today's interview is none other with a guy that is familiar with the Winnipeg wrestling scene because he was here in 2018, Franco Varga. He's going to talk about his career with us here on the show. As well, we're going to have a demographic update for you guys and some wrestling news talk. So stay tuned. It's all coming up next on the Jordan Garber Now podcast. Are you looking for the best vehicle for your needs at an affordable budget? Well, Hickman Auto Sales and Financing has exactly what you're looking for. Choose from a wide variety of vehicles like the 2012 Hyundai Tucson GLS, the 2016 Chrysler 200LX, and the 2020 Chevrolet Tahoe. All trades are accepted and paid off, and child tax, pension, disability, EI, social assistance, or self-employed are all approved. Low payments of $0 down. For more information, call 204-898-3511 or visit HickmanAutoFinancing.com. Tell them Jordan Garber Now sent you. Do you remember Real Aid Media? Well, the creator of that has another solution for you. Check it out. This is an emergency kit and a home safety evaluation for free. This kit has 180 pieces, such as a blanket, light stick, flashlight, cold pack, burn cream, and much, much more. This company is giving them away free to qualified homeowners, as well as a complimentary home safety evaluation for advertising purposes. The link available here is surveymonkey.com/r/204B. That's surveymonkey.com/r/204B. Check it out now. Alright, we are back with another Jordan Garber Now demographic update. Canada is sitting at 54% here, with Manitoba as being the number one province in the country for listens. And the number one place to listen to in Manitoba is here in Winnipeg at a whopping 98%. Winnipeg's always been a great market. It's probably the reason why is because I live here. But anyways, Winnipeg sitting at 98%. Oxford House, Thompson, Sandy Lake, Miami, Lac du Bonnet, Arbour, The Pas, and Selkirk all sitting at 1% or under. Alberta is in second place, only at 10%. And the leading places out in Alberta, however, are Leduc sitting at a whopping and dominating 51%. Edmonton sitting at 30%. Calgary sitting at 11%. And all at 1% is Carstairs, Airdrie, Red Deer, Medicine Hat, and Tabor, all at an even 1%. 3% of the podcast's entire listens come from Ontario, and Toronto is the leading market in Ontario, being at 67%, with second being Barrie, Ontario, and the remaining being Kitchener, Brampton, Mississauga, Guelph, London, and Peterborough, all at 3%. As well, we have Saskatchewan sitting at 2%, and Regina sitting at 89% in the lead there, and Langham and Weyburn sitting at 5%. British Columbia is at 1%, Vancouver sitting at 33%, the rest sitting at 16%, that being New Westminster, Richmond, Delta, and Surrey. All under 1% is Quebec and New Brunswick. As for the United States, they're sitting at 40%, and the leading geographical listening location there is New Jersey at 30%, and Washington at 16%, both Democratic states, as well as Virginia sitting at 12%, California sitting at 7%, Oregon sitting at 5%, Texas sitting at 4%, and the remaining sitting at 2% are Florida, Illinois, Arizona, Michigan, New York, all at 2% here on the Jordan Garber Now podcast. 1% is Pennsylvania, and Tennessee, and 1% or under is Kentucky, Nevada, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, Minnesota, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., South Carolina, New Hampshire, Ohio, Delaware, Alabama, West Virginia, North Dakota, Arkansas, Mississippi, Kansas, Indiana, and Alaska. We have sitting at third place in country listenership, Ireland, sitting at 2%, and Leinster sitting at 100%. United Kingdom, France, Iraq, Australia, Singapore, Germany, India, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, the British Virgin Islands, Mexico, Italy, Bulgaria, South Africa, the United Arab Emirates, Nigeria, Spain, Algeria, Nepal, Russia, Belgium, all sitting at 1% or under. That was the Jordan Garber Now demographic update. We'll do another one next week. I actually forgot one part of the demographic update that I didn't mention. Listening platforms, gender, and age. Very quickly here. Apple Podcasts sitting at 30%. Anchor sitting at 14%. Spotify sitting at 13%. Other sitting at 43%. Top devices are the iPhone. A top notable device sitting at 27%. The web is sitting at 12%. A Mac is at 4%. And Android is at 3%. Other at 54%. Top gender, male goes up by 1%, 87, and female goes down 1% at 9%. Non-specified, 4%. Age, 18 to 22, 15%. 23 to 27, 51%. 28 to 34, 11%. 35 to 44, 8%. And 45 to 59, sitting at 13%. That was part 2 of the demographic update. Do you enjoy talking to your favorite wrestling superstars? Well, Jordan Garber Now has an opportunity for you. For only $5.99, you get to have a 10 to 15 minute conversation with any of your favorite Jordan Garber Now interviewees. Send me a Facebook message for more information. Are you a wrestling fan? And do you like collecting wrestling merchandise? Well, Hot Shots Retro Rewind and Wrestling Collectibles is the place for you. They have t-shirts, action figures, DVDs, and autographs available. Check it out. Hot Shots Retro Rewind and Wrestling Collectibles on their public Facebook group. Are you that wrestling fan looking for that perfect television package to meet your needs? Well, Real Aid Media has the perfect option for you. With the Wrestling Box promo, you pay for the box for $199.95. After that, you're only paying $29.95 per month with no contracts and no obligations. Real Aid Media also provides marketing services operating in 5 countries. To book an appointment or to get your wrestling package, go to stevenbenzelock.bookify.com. That's Steven Benzelock at bookify.com. Check it out. Real Aid Media, providing great wrestling content for a cheap price. All right, guys. Coming up next is none other than an interview with Franco Varga. He has appeared here in Winnipeg on the CWE tour, as well as performed in Japan and Puerto Rico, and he is going to discuss his career on the podcast tonight. Coming up. All right, guys, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast. You're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We are here with no stranger to the Winnipeg wrestling scene, as well as all across North America and overseas. None other than Franco Varga. Franco, welcome to the Jordan Garber Now podcast.
What's going on, Jordan? Thanks for having me.
Well, it is great to have you on, and you definitely had a storied career your entire time. You know, you've hit the UK, you've hit Japan, you've hit Puerto Rico, among many other places. And that actually all began for you when it all started in New Era Pro Wrestling. Now, when you're done training and everything that you learned is set to stone and you practice those moves in the ring, were the first few matches an adjustment for you, or were you really starting to take advantage of learning the basics of chemistry?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I didn't feel like I was catching on as quick, but my coaches and trainers told me that I was a natural and things like that, and they had been trained by like guys of less stature and people like that before. So So those guys in New Era and the whole scene in Colorado, they're actually they don't get the credit that they deserve, But I think there has been huge stars, mega stars out of Colorado for a while since like Bobby Lashley. So I think that's quite kind of why scenes kind of fall off like that. But I in the beginning I felt like, man, I must be terrible, and I can't even watch those matches back anymore because of how much I've grown in my career. But in the beginning, yeah, it was a struggle. I wasn't a wrestling guy. I was actually invited to a tryout, and kind of was told, hey, you can do this. You got the body for it. You're naturally a big guy, and it doesn't hurt as much as you think it does. That was kind of a lie, but but no, I wasn't a wrestling guy. I basically picked up in the Attitude Era, watched a little bit of that. When everybody left, I stopped watching. So I wasn't like a hardcore wrestling guy. So I wasn't ever, I wasn't naturally picking up on things in the beginning. But I'm actually really grateful for that because it made me want to work harder. I was driving 2.5 hours each way to get trained because that's how bad I wanted it, especially when I knew I wasn't coming from that background.
Who are those first few wrestlers like in your career that kind of gave you that extra that extra push to get you to where you are today? Like, who are those guys that were always trying to help you out day after day?
Yeah, in the absolute beginning, Tony Morales, he was really really great for my career. He was another North Colorado guy that should have been a lot bigger in the business, but he did some stuff with Ring of Honor a little bit. So he got his shot, but yeah, he definitely helped me a lot, grow a lot quickly, and then of course, like business wise, a lot of people know like this story. Gerald Briscoe helped me a lot, career wise, business wise, and he actually was that first bump to actually getting out of Colorado and actually going to Puerto Rico and setting those things, opening those doors for me. I just wrestled in front of him one time, and he was just like, kid. And what was crazy is everyone's goal was to be in WWE, except I was. I'm always been very honest, and I was just like, I don't think that's where I want to be. And he kind of told me this like years later. He's like, that's what made you stand out to me, is if I can help you, even if not be in WWE, but if I can help you achieve your goals, then that's what everyone should help. It should be a big family kind of thing. So yeah, he helped me. I wanted to be the journeyman, the traveler, the guy known all around the world by a few, small niche of people, instead of the guy who wrestles on TV and known by a lot of people, but only wrestles that one place. So that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. So he helped me tremendously in the beginning.
A lot of your roots, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a bit of a gambling question due to our research in the past not going one for one in the past, but let's talk about the shows down there in Felton, Delaware at the Auto Exchange with Infinite Pro Wrestling or 302. What was your experience with them? That's a really great way to, that's your hometown roots, good venue, good people, you're comfortable working in front of your home crowd. So was that good to get on the list as well for your career, working for them?
So this is actually my wife's hometown. So I actually grew up in New York City, and there's almost no place cheaper than Delaware. I don't know if you look it up. It's like literally the cheapest place. And if you ever met me, which you have, I'm like one of the cheapest guys you're ever gonna meet. I can have $1 million in the bank, and I just won't buy that Ferrari. I'm gonna go buy the little Hyundai or something, But Delaware, the crowd is awesome. Man, I don't want to sound too full of myself, but they freaking love me here. I get stopped at like gas stations and stuff, so it's really cool little town feel. But yeah, I also live here, so which is why I don't do too many shows here, because the year that I was a bad guy here was tough, because they still believe, they still believe. They also know that I do a lot of stuff for charity and make a wish and things like that. So they know I'm a good guy at heart, but they're like, oh, you screwed over my favorite wrestler the other night. So they still believe, just like Puerto Rico, they still believe it's really hot crowds and stuff. So Delaware is one of those like niche little places where they still believe in that old school style of wrestling. So yeah, this is kind of where I'm at now, and for the near future, and we'll see where. I know there's been some rumors that I'm moving and all this stuff, so I don't really want to confirm or deny anything. But yeah, this is where I'm right now. So yeah, I love this. I love
And I heard
that. And
like
then
a lot of.
my experience. Go ahead. My
Oh,
experience was with the companies themselves. I know, like with 302, I've always been pretty vocal about, some of them. They were really long, but there were some great feuds for me, like Big John Stud's kid, Big Sean Stud. I don't know if you ever seen him.
yeah.
That was like a big feud for them, and then that company eventually turned into Infinite Pro Wrestling, which has done a lot for my career and the careers of a lot of guys. So it's one of the top places to be on the East Coast, and it just started right here in Delaware. They're already in 8 states now. So it was awesome to see them grow from just starting here in Little Delaware to now being across 8 different states.
Now, I interviewed a lot of guys that came across to Puerto Rico, and a lot of these guys here tell me stories where the fans actually are so into it that they'll piss into a cup and they'll throw it at you. Did you ever encounter that yourself as a heel?
Thank God. No, I was a lot more attractive when I was there, so I was a baby face.
Well, that's good.
And yeah, thank God. But no, I've seen the craziest thing I've seen was a 9-volt battery thrown at a heel, and that was the day I was like, I'm so happy I'm a baby face. But there's also, the big deal about baby faces over there is you're going to be expected to bleed a lot, and I still have this mark on my forehead. If you ever looked at my pictures and promo pictures and stuff, there's like a permanent mark on my forehead from the gashes. So I know people say like, oh man, Abdullah the Butcher's got these huge gashes in his forehead. Well, he wrestled in Puerto Rico for 30 years, so of course over time they're gonna they just don't go away. So that's the big difference is, yeah, they hate the heels, they love the baby faces, but you have to do different things. You have to put up with that kind of stuff, and you have to park far away from the building, and you can't go out. And working for Carlos it's pretty old school. If you're a heel and you're embarrassed in public any kind of way, you get sent home. It doesn't matter. You get sent home. So especially if you lose a fight. If you get in a fight and you lose, you get sent home immediately. Don't ever expect to come back, just because that legitimacy is gone. And then on the other hand, as a babyface, don't expect to sleep much because you're going to have a lot of these fan interaction kind of things. So you got to take pictures at the gym or go sign here or do this or do that. So it's a lot of work, but it's also some of the best. I mean, I always tell guys you should go to Puerto Rico. I mean, it's not the greatest pay on the planet, which you always hear from guys, but it's some of the best experience I've ever had.
I feel like Puerto Rico is like that next check stop that people take on their list to get to places like England or Japan. I feel like if you want to have those strong components of British style and lucha style, you got to start things out in Puerto Rico. And to work for Carlos, man, that must have been crazy. How many people were you working in front of at the time? In front of there, how were the crowds?
The biggest one was like 3,500, and that was like their SummerSlam. Their WrestleMania is it's like double that. They do this big baseball stadium in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and it's like 7,000 people. So yeah, man, it's huge.
It's crazy.
I didn't even get to. I was actually gone. I was actually back home by that point, but I did their second biggest show, just 3,500 people. Plus, they have local TV and a whole bunch of other stuff. So even if they didn't come to the show, they watch on TV. It's like it's a big deal.
Absolutely, it's always good to be a part of something that's a big deal, and a big deal here in Winnipeg is none other than Canadian Wrestling Elite. We just finished our CWE preview with Danny Duggan, who's a co-host on the program. You'll hear from him every single month previewing the next big show. And I remember back when I worked with Chair Shot Radio that we did an interview with you on the tour with Ron Simmons. And man, you brought Ron Simmons on the show, counting as a chance to be a part of a segment with Ron Simmons, which was awesome. But you did that whole tour. That was a really tough road for you. You're adjusting in the United States and Delaware. You're going to Puerto Rico, and now you're going to Canada. How much of a culture shock was that?
It was huge, man. It was huge, and I was, again, being originally from New York City, I was like, why is everyone so damn nice? It was actually pretty creepy to me. But no, I love the Canadian fans. I still talk to a bunch of them, and they always, bug me like, come back to Canada. And I just think fit wise, I'm always I've always said yes to a lot of things, and then I've gotten a chance to like, oh, that tour is 30 some days. I'd have to cancel on things, and I just don't like to cancel. So like, I'm gonna try to get back on one of these tours, a full tour. I don't want to do a portion of the tour or a leg of the tour. I just want to do a full tour. So when the timing is right, yeah, I'll definitely be back.
Well, you didn't do the full tour, but you did have, I believe, 23 matches in 2018, working places like Gimli, Gladstone, Brandon, Dauphin, Yorkton, Melfort, Prince Albert, Saskatoon. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but you also hit Alberta, BC. What are some places that stood out to you the most on the tour? What are some of your top cities that you got to perform in that you'll always remember?
Yeah. So, not to correct you too bad there, but I actually did that tour start to finish. It was Ron. Ron Simmons had to go home early, so I don't know.
That was yeah, 9 damn
Yeah,
years.
that 9 damn years tour. But I was there start to finish. So my favorite was, Calgary, of course, Winnipeg, Thunder Bay was also really cool for me. I liked Sault Ste. Marie, even though I was calling it Sault Ste. Mary, and really the crowd really hated me that night.
Hmm.
But I that was another cool town. Yeah, there was a lot of really cool little towns, and of course, gosh, what's Thunder Bay. Gosh, there's one more that I know Dwayne and Kim Soper. Man, I can't remember the town, but it's right. It's the stop right after Calgary. So,
Oh, okay. I
um,
think I might have that on my files here. You went to
yeah, but
Calgary,
yeah,
and then it was Medicine Hat, I think.
Medicine Hat. Yes, Medicine Hat. Love the Medicine Hat. Love the crowd in Medicine Hat. Still talk to a lot of people in Medicine Hat. And of course, the Soper family, they're like big sponsors for that show and that time. It's a huge custom. So, yeah, I still keep in touch with them.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. The pulls out a great tour each and every time. And
Yeah.
with coronavirus and pro wrestling right now, how do you think that's kind of affecting the future of not the mainstream product, but the independent product? Is it going to thrive thrive or not survive in terms of like media? Is this going to increase the media outlet for the independent product? Is the coronavirus going to give that a chance?
Well, so my thoughts on coronavirus and independent wrestling was, I personally shut myself down when it came to it because I wanted it to. I didn't want to put it in a fan's mind where, man, I really want to go see Franco Varga, but I really want to stay home because I don't feel safe going out. And I socially, like the social responsibility that wrestlers have, and they don't really realize is that we kind of have to like be the responsible ones and say, look, guys, don't worry about coming out. Don't even worry about wrestling. Be safe. Be with your families. So I said I'm done for the year, guys. I called and messaged every promoter that I worked for, and I said I'm so sorry if you were planning things, but I'm taking myself off the shelf. Other than working for Ricky Morton's School of Morton in Tennessee, which is a nationally broadcasted program, which they had like 100,000 followers last night. And Ricky Morton's a Hall of Famer. I love Ricky Morton, so he's always been good to me. So that was the one place that I kind of didn't really shut down, but they're doing everything super safe, and that's kind of why I'm there. So, but yeah, I think if everyone did that in pro wrestling, I know there's a lot of people, especially like the higher ups in pro wrestling, really bashing on independent wrestling because we're wrestling in backyards essentially again. And I feel the same way. I think if I don't want to make pro wrestling, especially independent pro wrestling, look like something lesser than WWE. I think it should always be not on par, not especially not on par budget wise, but it should be on par with the work, and it shouldn't be an eyesore, So if it looks like it's in someone's backyard and it's not going to be taken seriously, you can be the best worker, the best wrestler, the best sports entertainer in the business. But if you're wrestling in a backyard, about 95% of the casual fans are not going to take you seriously off the bat. So
What
that's
about
kind
a
of why.
Walmart? Like, what about inside a Walmart? Is that okay?
I, no,
I'm
no,
just
absolutely
bugging.
not. No, same thing. Yeah, I mean, I understand that we love this, and I understand that this is what a lot of guys want to do, but I also understand that a lot of guys got desperate to just put on a show just for the sake of putting on a show. And that's kind of what hurts professional wrestling, and that's why back in the territory days, back in like the early '80s, late '70s, that's why Vince McMahon went around and bought up all these promotions, because he got tired of seeing them do things out of desperation. So he bought them all up so he can control it and not have things, you know, hurt the actual reputation for wrestling. So I know he gets a bad rap, but he's also, I mean, he's been putting on these caliber shows for what, 30 plus years. You can't be a dummy and accomplish that. So
Talk about Japan now. You know, a lot of people make it their dream in their career to even hit Japan. What was it like not to just hit there but perform there?
So yeah, in true Franco fashion, it just fell in my lap, and I had wrestled Tuco Scorpio a few times, and he's huge over there, and he just made some phone calls for me and said, look at this kid, he's gonna send you some stuff, and I was just like, please, like, okay, I'll do it, you know, because out of respect for you, but I doubt it's gonna work out, you know. Things in pro wrestling fall through all the time. And next thing I know, they're like, okay, these are the dates, this is when it would be, this is, you know, you fill this out for your visa. And I was just like, what? This is happening? And yeah, next thing I knew, I was just like, oh my God, I'm on a flight, and it was like really cool. I think everyone should be able to do it. And it's not as hard. I know I'm gonna say it, and a lot of people roll their eyes. It's not as hard as you think. You're always not even looking. That first recommendation is what you need. So get in front of somebody who's been there, and get in front of someone who can really put, you know, your work, their name on your work, and that's all really what it is. It's not the toughest thing in the world. And of course, to be invited back, you have for a tougher crowd than a lot of people. We see go off the wall 100%.
Sir, you are cutting out there a little bit, but while you adjust your microphone, let's talk about let's talk about Ohio Valley Wrestling. You know, you had one match there that was taped for India that got a really, really good reach against Shira. So can you kind of elaborate on that before we discuss the UK?
Yeah, so Ohio Valley Wrestling is like one of the, you know, one of the, like you said, a lot of places that wrestling should check mark and want to be. So that was always a goal of mine for my entire career. Working for OVW, working for Al Snow. He's also one of the great minds of pro wrestling. So when I got the call and they said, hey, I was actually sending videos to Greg Khali to go work in India for him, and that's one of the things that coronavirus actually stopped me from doing this year, but you know, it is what it is, right? So we filmed that to be aired over there, and it was just one of those things that, like, boom, it exploded. Like, next thing I knew, I had like 5,000 followers from this one match, damn near overnight. So they're huge on their pro wrestling over there. I know for a fact I'll be over there hopefully next year. But yeah, it was OVW's like done a lot for my career, and for a lot of guys too.
And
place to work.
Oh no, absolutely. A lot of names have come out of Ohio Valley Wrestling, and obviously some of the best in the world. So let's talk.
Yeah. I mean, John Cena, Batista, Lesnar,
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
You can't ask for a better proving ground.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, that's a proving ground. Absolutely.
PCW UK. So we're talking about culture shock. I think that's pretty much the whole basis of our review throughout your travels. You go to Puerto Rico. You deal with fans throwing 9 volts. You go to Canada, you have a bunch of Tim Hortons. You go to Japan, you're wrestling some of the best, and now you're going all the way to UK to wrestle some of the best and the best in a whole new style. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
what was that about?
So I actually got picked as part of the Road to Glory. It's kind of like this world, televised world tournament, right? So guys from all over, and they go to, you know, PCW, and I think the sponsor was like Get Back Wrestling and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a really good shot for me, and yeah, it was insanely different. I had some great matches, and I love the fact that I didn't try to blend with their style. I actually my whole thing was, do what you guys do. I'm not going to try to emulate or do what you guys do. I'm going to try to counter that with the styles that I bring to the table. And it was super entertaining. The fans actually, like, that's another place that I keep in touch with a lot of people, just because you don't, a lot of people go over there and try to fit in, and I'm strongly against that. I'm brought in for a reason. That's because I stand out differently. So I'm not going to change who I am, no matter where I go. And I think that's worked out for me, career wise, especially like Australia. They have a pretty weird, different style too. But the UK is a lot of chain wrestling, a lot of ground wrestling, and I don't.
What's their style like compared to the UK style? Is it sort of like a similar thing, or is it a little different?
No, so you mean in Australia?
Yeah.
So in Australia, they have a lot of because they're still part of the Union Jack in the UK, so they have a lot of the UK wrestlers come out. So they have some mat wrestling, but again, they also have Japan right above them, so they have a lot of that Japanese high flying and striking. So whenever a guy like me comes and does like the big power moves and the big, the really like the over the top big stuff, they were just like, wow, like that's like WWE stuff. I'm like, no, that's just a different style, So they're not used to like people getting thrown over, like I flip people over my head and catch them midair and then put them down. So like that's like the overly powerful stuff. They don't get to see that. I'm also 300 pounds, which is like people, they don't really see that as much either. So like I think like a guy like Big E would make a killing living over there because he's like Godzilla, to them. so yeah, it's a huge like clashing styles is what the fans want to see on the independent level, and guys like Jeff Cobb I've seen do well, and just right in front of me, Mike Hogan. Of course, you got your like MJF, like I said in the UK, I was with MJF on that same thing, and just how the promos, doesn't matter where you are, if you're good at promos, it's going to translate. You're always going to kill it. You're always going to be that guy. So yeah, the UK and Australia were some of my favorites to definitely wrestle in front of.
From working with MJF, would you say from the get-go he was always a good promo guy, or did that take a lot of development, or was he a natural?
Absolutely. No, he was from the first time I met him at CZW in New Jersey, he was always great. He was always, it's like he's a walking, talking promo all the time. That's just who he is. He's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's also awesome is all the names you kind of like came across in your career. Looking back, it's definitely something you can share it with a smile. There's one thing we do on the Jordan Garber Now podcast, and that's the top three. Top three workers you've had the best in-ring chemistry with of all time. And go.
All time. Wow. Okay. Wow, that's something really on the spot there. I think number three. You know what? Not in any order because chemistry is like a thing. But Carlito, we worked a few times. We're both Puerto Rican. He's like from a huge prestigious family. I'm the whole, the traveler bit. So that was a really interesting match for the fans, and they still, play it over there. So definitely, that's one of the guys. Tony Atlas, I guess you can ask my wife. He's like my dad. We speak like once a week or something. But he's taught me a lot, just in the ring, slowing down, making things count, really like tapping into the fan. Like it's just he should be. If it wasn't for the schedule, he would be with WWE still coaching guys. But and then I'd say me and Brian Cage have had some really good matches, and we're both really, really big dudes, and we both not super similar styles, but we both we blend very, very well together. So I'd say top three with a close fourth one would have been maybe Michael Elgin. Close fourth.
Awesome. Michael Elgin was also on the Jordan Garber Now podcast if you want to go way back into the day. So it's awesome having you on, Franco. And, I remember doing an interview with you 3 years ago. Great guy. Saw you in the locker room. You've always been an awesome performer. And if I'm a fan and I'm buying a ticket, I look forward to seeing you. So I appreciate you taking the time to share your career perspectives and sharing it with the world, because it really does mean the world to us.
Thank you so much.
And
make sure go ahead. Make sure you tell my boy AJ Sanchez that I said hello, and I'm coming for him next time I see him in Canada. That's another one of those really good matchups that I get asked for to redo all the time.
There's actually a small little feud with a very small feud with me and AJ Sanchez and CW here that just kind of ended going through the past, there is this whole online thing, and a lot of my listeners here, before we wrap things up, a lot of my listeners know that I'm pretty controversial, and sometimes I don't really think before I hit the keyboard or hit enter.
Obviously, yeah.
So what happened with AJ is one thing led to another, and we got into a big fight, and then what happened is he was on the CW live streams, and Danny Duggan kept saying, if AJ wins, he'll be in the Jordan Garber Now trading card set. And he's like, F you, Jordan Garber, I hate you. And then we'd be doing this back and forth for 2 months out. But eventually I got to speak to the Boston Bruiser, Kevin O'Doyle, and AJ Sanchez, and all ends are forgiven. Everything's good. And another famous alumni of our show to have on. So I will definitely tell him that you said hi. But I won't be stirring any drama this time.
Yeah, please stop. Those guys are a lot bigger than you.
Yeah, they're way big. I lost weight, guys. I lost 15 pounds. So it's
Nice.
funny when people talk about wrestlers and wrestling journalists. At least you want to be over 140 pounds, and when you're losing weight even at that size, kind of showed something. Got to get back on the drawing board.
I haven't been 140 pounds since 8th grade. So.
8th grade. Well, it looks like I got a lot of work to do. I have a lot of those Whopper Wednesdays to take advantage of. All right, man, Franco, I really appreciate the time. Is there anything else you want to say to our fans listening from around the world?
No, man, thanks. Wherever you're listening from, wherever you've seen me wrestle live or online, thank you. Throughout the years, you guys are awesome, and WWE is not the only thing, and I'm glad that I and myself and a lot of guys have been able to prove that throughout the years. I ain't going anywhere, and when it becomes safe, I will be back, and like a lot of people, we'll be back, and we'll be back all over the world entertaining you guys. And then just follow me on the socials, right? Cheap plug, everything, any social media at Franco Wrestles. And that's it. I keep it simple.
Awesome, man. You keep it simple. I keep it real. It's great to have you on the show, and I appreciate your time.
All right, brother. You take it easy.
And what a great interview with none other than Franco Varga here on the Jordan Garber Now podcast. Some news to come. Coming up.
Newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
You heard them. Use promo code PowerSlamNow. All right, guys. Jordan Garber Now has reached Wrestling News Press once again, and what a pleasure it was to do so with none other than Dan the Beast Severn. Now, I get it. I posted something on Facebook today that stated that I'm disappointed that I didn't appear on the big ones. And I appeared on a lot of the big ones, but I wanted to be on Wrestling Inc. I wanted to be on Wrestle Talk TV, and I wanted to be mentioned on Wall Culture, and I really wanted to get that interview out there and spread the word. But you know what? There's always next time, and I'm glad that I got what I got for it. And I'm glad that I gained new listeners in the process, and I want to thank all of them. And I want to thank the following sites here for mentioning my site. Robert the Felice, you are the man. You always help me out. WrestleZone and Mandatory.com, thank you so much. Sportskita.com, thank you so much. ListedNotes.com, Wrestling-World.com, WWFOldSchool.com, eWrestling.com, eWrestlingNews.com, WrestlingNewsBreak.com, WrestlingFrenzy.com, WorldWrestling.it, SportsArena.com, Angry Marks. I need to sip of Pepsi here, just excuse me. Pinterest as well. Sorry, I just love soda. It's really good. WrestlingNews.co. Thank you guys so much, excuse me. MMA.BoxingNewsNow.com. What else? I just feel bad if I don't mention anyone because there's so many. I think I mentioned most of them, actually. So it wasn't the biggest reach in the world, but you know what? I want to thank those sites for making that interview something. I want to thank Dan Severn for stepping into the podcast and delivering an awesome interview with me. It's something that I always have up there. and it's something that I can always cherish forever. So I really thank Dan the B7 for that. It's a good opportunity, and I greatly and dearly appreciate it. Now, I'm really happy with our new markets that we gained through listening. And speaking of markets, AEW and NXT's viewership is both down. AEW Dynamite posted at 753,000, while NXT posted at 639,000. Like, I feel it should be over 1 million. It's not. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I just feel that it should be a lot higher than that. And that's what I'm saying. Mainstream wrestling is dropping. And everyone's getting mad at me on social media when I say that. And I'm not saying it to be a bad thing. When I say indie wrestling is thriving, I really mean that. Independent wrestling is such a strong and thriving product. And when I say that I feel that my interview should have got out more, it should have. Because it was old school. It was the way it was supposed to be. It was a good, solid 5-star interview that beat most of them this week. Solid. Fair enough. And I'm sure Dan Severn would agree with that. That interview, I love the headlines we got for it, but I feel we should have got so much more. But I'm grateful for what we got, and I'll leave it at that. But what I say on Facebook is I'm disappointed in myself mostly. At the end of the day, you got to look at you. And that's part of it. Anyways, what else do I really have here? Superstar is injured on NXT, Ridge Holland, which is unfortunate. And their former WWE champion, who is supposed to be on the show, actually, but not anymore, Alberto Del Rio, has been indicted or indicted for aggravated kidnapping, and he's facing up to life in prison. So, not good for him. And speaking of not good, Matt Riddle is facing a $10 million lawsuit against Candy Cartwright. There's another lady involved in that lawsuit as well. I'm just trying to find out who it is, actually. This is like kind of the information I feel like I should have in front of me, but it's Matt Riddle and another guy, and those are two guys that have faced $10 million each. $10 million each. Also, former WWE Intercontinental Champion Marty Jannetty was apparently assaulted in New York City this week. He posted on Facebook this afternoon how they jumped him while he was waiting at John F. Kennedy Airport to fly back home. He also said he was taken to Jamaica Medical Center in Queens, and Jannetty indicated that a doctor told him he was a victim of a case of a mistaken identity. More about that. This Marty Jannetty's been up to a lot of stuff. And they took his phone, and yeah. Marty Jannetty's been really political, like, in wrestling lately. And I feel like I have too, in a way, like, but like, sometimes in wrestling, like, I remember working with Bruce Hart in 2014, and he'd always tell me, like, you gotta find something to make yourself stand out from others. And I'm kind of a guy that just takes it. If I have an opportunity, I just take it. I knock down the door and I take advantage of it. Like, you have to in a day and age like this. With it being 2020 and everyone being sensitive about everything, like, it's like, I'm not going to get much into it because anything you say nowadays is taken as an insult. So I'm not going to go there. But I'm just saying, like, I wish, like Dan Severn was saying, I wish I was around in the territories being an announcer. Man, I would have loved to have Gordon Soley's career. And I wish I would have had the opportunity to work up to a level like that. Because Gordon Soley is like one of the greatest announcers of all time. I'd love to announce on different territories and do things like that. And now with COVID, it's like there's limited travel in wrestling now, and independent wrestling is thriving, but when are these things going to add up? And how is independent wrestling going to recover from that? Because with what's going on in our real world right now, it's just too much. Whether people think it's a hoax or not, it's still happening, and rules are being placed. So it's just, I don't know what that's going to do for the wrestling industry. It's not done a lot for the music industry, which is terrible. Music covers both sides of the brain. Before you know it, music is everything in our world and everything in our generation. So, like, I don't know, man. By the way, I'm out of cards. I'm about to mail 6 out. Thank you to all my supporters. But it's just been unbelievable. It's COVID. Like, I have to be prepared to work from home no matter what. Things can change in a flash. Things can change in an instant. So be good to people. And that's what I'm starting to learn just about now. It's like, you just got to be good. You got to be a good person nowadays. You know, anybody that you're walking by could have lost their job. Everyone's situation is so different right now. It might not affect anybody at all, but it may affect someone who's older. It may affect someone's family member, so someone's cautious when hanging out. Or it's just like, just wear a mask, guys. Like, I know it sounds dumb and people are against it, but like, if the rules are the rules, just do it. Like, I'm known for complaining and things like that, but if it's for the sake of someone's health, just wear a mask and, like, do the right thing. Protect others. Be a good person. You know, if someone's upset, send them a message. Video call them. You know, make feel that you're there for somebody, because you gotta adjust to that, man, in this day and age, and certainly this time. So that's just me. But you know, one promotion I refereed for, I had 3 years there, and it was awesome. Premier Championship Wrestling. I remember refereeing a full show there once, a full 8 matches, and I'd referee the next show like 2 matches, next show 4. It was awesome, man. It was probably one of the best promotions I could have ever worked for. Big shout out to Andrew Shellcross. I learned so much, and I've never been employed by a wrestling promotion for that long in such a time. Ever. I was never employed by anything wrestling related. Not even a wrestling. I think the longest ever, actually, it's not true. Angry Marks and Wrestling World 247, my own site in the past, which is actually technically so this podcast, so not really. So yeah. Angry Marks podcast would be the only place I've been at longer than Premier Championship Wrestling. And as for in-ring action, I have never been in a place longer than Premier Championship Wrestling. So I do want to thank them for that. That was awesome. What a great experience. What a great experience indeed. I'm going to throw you guys a classic interview here on the Jordan Garber Now podcast and more after that. Stay tuned. We are here with none other than Prince Nana. It's great to have you on the show, man. How you doing?
Oh my God, Jordan. All right, you know I'm irritated right now, right?
And why is that?
Because you're interrupting my lunch. All right, I have my beautiful servant in the kitchen. All right, she's over there cooking up my jollof rice. Okay, my jollof rice with the fried shrimp. All right.
Ooh,
it's so good, all right, the jollof rice. One day I'm going to invite you over so you can have some, all right? But don't interrupt my lunch again. But how are you, Jordan? It's good to be on your broadcast today.
Well, I am doing pretty good. I am enjoying my turkey club, so we can both say that we're enjoying some good food right now. And
Turkey club, all right? Your turkey club don't have nothing on my jollof rice, but go ahead.
Oh, that is debatable. Just bugging you there. But starting out and training with Johnny Rods, you were looking to find some advice on where to train when you just first started out, and that was Johnny Rods, starting out with him. What were some experiences that he taught you that you'll always remember for the rest of your life?
Oh, man, forget it. Johnny Rods, you know, God bless him. He's maybe in his mid to late 80s right now. He's a pioneer in the wrestling business, and I learned a lot from him. He's like a second father to me. And you know how you have your parents, and sometimes you get into fights with them, and you don't want to talk with them, and then you want to talk with them, and you don't want to talk with them. That's how my relationship is with Johnny. He's taught me a lot. I've met a lot of good people through him. I've worked for Johnny. I've helped him with his promotion, WUW, World of Unpredictable Wrestling. I actually helped him name that company that he works with out of his school in Brooklyn, New York. So, Johnny took me under his wing. I was the first young student that he ever had in the school, the first student who was 15 years old. He used to only take 18-year-old students, all right? So, when I came to the school and he found out that I was young, he was kind of against bringing me in. But, I spoke to him and he saw that, at that time there was something different about me. He said there was something different about me. And then he sent me home with a letter for me to take to my mom for her to sign. And from there it was history. But as far as what he taught me a lot. All right. And one of the main things that he taught me and wanted me to be prepared for, but I really didn't understand it back then, but I understand it now as I'm an adult in the business, it's mainly about the inequality in professional wrestling. He always wanted me to be aware of that. And I think one of the main reasons why is because he saw how much of a leader I was and kind of exemplified at that time. And he didn't want me to be disappointed years later with what the wrestling business can do to anybody, white, black, Chinese, but especially for someone African American, it can be disheartening sometimes if you don't have the right mind frame. So Johnny Raj always instilled that into me. He always instilled the hard work, the hard work ethic. When I was training, it was every day, every night. I was going to work, going to school, and going to the gym. Eat in the gym, sleep in the gym. At the gym, back from the gym. Going to eat steak, back at the gym after I eat the steak. So, that was my life. I slept, ate, and dreamt about wrestling, and Johnny Raj was there to kind of guide me along the way, at that time of my life.
And after that, you started out in...
Come on. When it does, why are you having these long pauses on the phone? What are you doing? You're still eating the Techie Club sandwich? Come on, put the sandwich down.
I'm enjoying it.
What is your problem?
It's extra mayo, man. I gotta enjoy this, man. Anyways, Jersey Championship Wrestling, you started out in 2000, and then you went into the WWF. You had a few matches there, including a match with Crash Holly. Kind of tell the audience here what your thoughts were kind of on that match and how the opportunity came about.
Oh, wow. Crash Holly, rest in peace to him. That's number one. Crash Holly is like another pioneer in the business that is gone too soon. But, wow, wrestling Crash Holly was probably one of the biggest highlights in my career. It happened in 2002, it seems like a lifetime ago. And it was in Madison Square Garden in front of a sold-out crowd. When I walked out the curtain and the crowd saw me, wow, what a moment. Because at that point, I was already kind of like a New York City, kind of like a fake icon in New York City. We used to do these shows in Queens where it was kind of like 500 to 700 people at the shows. And I used to come out and the crowd used to go nuts. And, I used to beat the guy up and curse at the crowd and everything. So when I came out at Madison Square Garden, after a lot of people, I guess, been hearing online about me and so on and so forth, when I came out, the crowd was excited to see me. So that was a big, memorable moment. And the match itself was a good match. I was at one of my heaviest, the heaviest that I was in my life as far as weight is concerned. I think if I was a little lighter, I would have had a better match. But, I wouldn't change anything about it. Crash Holly, guided me and he, helped me out through the match. And as far as just not beating me up, I competed with him, but he didn't beat me up too bad. And I didn't beat him up too bad. And we had a pretty good match. That night he won. But, Crash Holly was definitely a big turning point in my career as far as being a wrestler. But as far as how it came about, before that event, I actually had my first opportunity with the WWE already. I don't know if you're aware of that, and that was with Steve Blackman. I wrestled Steve Blackman in
a dark match.
In a dark match. No, it was a televised match, my friend, all right? Prince Nana has only been on television, all right? Do your research, all right? Why would you say a dark match, huh?
I believe
Who do you think you're talking to? Huh? Who do you think you're talking to? All right? It was a broadcasted match on USA Network, live in front of millions of people, all right? My first time there with Steve Blackman, all right, which was a sold-out crowd in front of Metal. It was a show called Metal at the time. And, man, I shared the locker room with Chris Benoit. I shared the locker room with Eddie Guerrero. Rest in peace to those guys, and a lot of other people. But one of the main things that, got me in there was a good friend of mine by the name of Kevin Kelly. My friend Kevin Kelly, he got me in, after seeing a tape that I had sent to him maybe about 1 year or 2 years prior, and he enjoyed my work. He said to me, hey, I enjoy your work. I want you to come on down to the event. Make sure you have your gear. All right. Make sure you bring everything and just, be respectful. I remember him saying that, just be respectful, because he knew I was young. You got to remember, I was a 20-year-old. I was young in the wrestling business, and, that was probably the best advice that he could give me. Be respectful. And I had my opportunity, and wow, what a great thing. Even Howard Finkel announced me at both of those events that I did with the WWE.
And in 2002, Ring of Honor began. They had their first event called The Era of Honor Begins. Kind of look at that event and look at Ring of Honor now. What changes do you see, good and bad?
Man, if you're talking about Ring of Honor and seeing it from 2002 to 2020, it's definitely it's a remarkable thing. It's a remarkable thing. In 2002, people know the backstory when Gabe Sapolsky approached me to be a part of Ring of Honor. The first show, he told me he was a fan of mine. I didn't know who he was, but then I knew who he was afterwards, after people told me who he was, and that he was, working with Paul Heyman and so on and so forth. So I did the show, and I didn't really think anything of it when it was happening. It was almost like, hey, this is just any other show happening that I just happened to be on. But as the year went on, and the shows that we were putting on, and the amount of people that were coming, and they were coming religiously to the events to see people like me and to see people like Loki, American Dragon, Christopher Daniels, all of these guys, it was truly remarkable, and it was really the birth of something special. Over the years, of course, there's been many bumps in the road, change in ownership, maybe about 2 times, from the Feinstein to Carrie Silkin, and then Carrie Silkin finally changing it over to Sinclair Broadcasting. It's definitely had its ups and its downs and its growing pains, and there's things that probably should be different, probably shouldn't be different. It's up to everybody's opinion. I feel whenever Prince Nana is involved, it's a peak in as far as interest when it comes to Ring of Honor. And when Prince Nana is not there, yeah, there's still a peak in interest. But, I just can't, kind of observe that, because I'm on the outside. So I wouldn't be able to kind of see that, because there's very, very fierce competition going on, like AEW, WWE, Impact. So, when you have a variety of things going on, and you're on the outside, and you're looking at the numbers, you can, see what's really going on. But every time that I personally have been with the company, the numbers have been up, things have been really good, business has been booming, and basically that's a good thing. I always wish nothing but the best to the entire roster at Ring of Honor, and you never know when Prince Nana will pop back up.
Well, you definitely created a great legacy in Ring of Honor, including the Embassy. Tell us how that came about, too, how that was created.
Oh, man, if I tell you how the Embassy was created, I would have to kill you.
Oh, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. I want to
right?
eat turkey
I
club
don't want
still.
that, so I'm gonna give you a very basic outline, okay, of how it happened. It started with my friend, okay, Xavier. All right, he's a wrestler from the Northeast area.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Mr. Gabe Sapolsky, he was looking to do something, different with Xavier at that time. I think Xavier had lost the belt and he was on this, quest to get the World Championship belt back around his waist. But he needed guidance. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
He needed guidance. And I remember having a meeting with Mr. Gabe Sapolsky and Mr. Gabe Sapolsky saying to me, Nana, I know that you are a very important person and I know that you can do this. You can, probably look into a couple of the wrestlers on the roster and tell me who you might be interested in working with under your brand, the Prince Nana brand. So the first person that I said was Xavier. And the next thing, when I was going out to the ring, all right, the day that I signed the contract to work with Xavier, I believe Bobby Cruz and Mr. Zapolsky came over to me and they said, hey, by the way, what is the name of your company? And I thought I had told them already, but that's when I told them, oh, it's the Embassy. And right from there, Bobby Cruz went out to the crowd and, said, ladies and gentlemen, introducing, representing the Embassy, Prince Nana, and that's when the Embassy was born. And Xavier came out. And there's certain things I'm forgetting in the story, but, that's basically how it came about.
You also had a great experience in Japan. Culture shock as well in terms of anybody that goes there. It's definitely a dream for anybody to go compete in Japan. Tell the world, what were some of the great things about Japan you could share?
Oh, man, Japan is a beautiful place. I can't wait to go back sometime in my life. Sometimes I can't believe I even went there. It's luckily I have pictures and I have pay-per-view matches that I did in front of the world to kind of like remind people of, what I did there. But Japan was unbelievable. Hats off to Steve Corino. All right, Steve Corino, he works for the WWE right now. Hats off to him for helping set that up with, Hashimoto. All right, he was the owner, rest in peace, at the time. Hashimoto, he saw me wrestle at Ring of Honor. And he was like, who is that guy? Who is he? And, Steve Corino was his, his scout, his talent scout. And basically he was like, that's Prince Nana. And, he was like, I definitely want him to be on the tour. Make sure that you contact him and you tell him I want him to be on the tour of Japan. And that's when history started. Steve Corino contacted me. He told me what was going down. And I was on my first flight to Japan with the Christopher Street Connection. Can you believe of all people, the Christopher Street Connection? Boy, we had a good time. Man, we must have eaten all the food on the plane. We were watching movies. There was a baby crying the whole 17 hours, but we didn't care, all right, because we were in the first class and we were going and coming. It was a great experience. Roppongi, oh, man, Roppongi is a great city in Tokyo, all right? And then we got to work at the Great Corrigan Hall, all right, which is not too far from the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo. And the matches that I had with the 01 people were just totally fantastic. So my whole fan base out in Japan. I look forward to seeing you again. All right, make sure you contact Prince Nana on social media. I like hearing from you guys.
Absolutely. And before we wrap things up and give you your social media here, I bring up 3 names. It's called the Random 3. And you're going to give your opinion on them. Donovan Dijak, now in WWE. We also have on the list Loki and Cesaro. What are your thoughts on those 3?
Oh, man, all of them are good friends. Every single one of those guys that you said are good friends of Prince Nana. I had a good relationship with Donovan Dijak towards the last time that I was with Ring of Honor, the most recent time I was with Ring of Honor. Right after that, he got picked up by the WWE, so I did my job. All right, I did my job, and I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of Donovan Dijak. He was a star from the beginning. All right, and we just put a little bit of a twist on it and made it more of a believable thing. All right, and once that happened, it was go time. And as far as Loki is we had our time in the ring, in Ring of Honor. All right, but let me tell you something. He is one of my good friends in the wrestling business. We go out to eat Korean barbecue all the time. We have good laughs. We've been on the road together. We share the same mentor, which is Jim Kettner, the old owner and creator of ECWA in Delaware. And Loki is definitely an innovator in this business. A lot of people probably won't say that, but he's an innovator in the business, and I'm proud that he's my friend. And the last person you said was Cesaro. Cesaro is a star. You know that already. He's a star. Look at him. He came from the bottom. All right. They flew him in from England or from Switzerland to become a part of the Ring of Honor roster. He was very humble Switzerland man, And then he came up on the ranks, became a part of the world's greatest tag team. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
No, not the world's greatest.
Not
tag team. It was the Kings of Wrestling.
Kings of Wrestling with Chris Hero.
Exactly, the Kings of Wrestling tag team. All right, which took storm throughout the wrestling business, and then finally coming to the embassy. Okay, for that final piece of spice before he went to the WWE. So I'm very, very proud of him. All right, and all of those guys that you mentioned. It's nice that you brought up their name, my friend.
Absolutely. And before you...
brush your teeth this morning?
What's that?
Did you brush your teeth this morning?
I certainly did.
Okay, because the way you're talking, it sounds like your mouth is dry. All right? It sounds like your mouth is dry. Go get some type of juice or something like that, all right?
For sure.
Are you nervous or something? Don't be nervous.
I could definitely do that. It could be from the Turkey Club as well, That could definitely be another factor.
The Turkey Club don't have no juice in it. When I eat my jollof rice with the fried shrimp, it's going to be nice, juicy, and very, tasty, but not too much salt, because I have high blood pressure, so I don't eat with too much of that salt stuff.
Yeah, so too much salt can definitely be a killer. Is that still cooking, by the way?
Yeah, man, it's gonna be ready soon. She got it over there in the oven right now. She tried to interrupt my conversation to ask a question, but Prince Nana can't have that. Prince Nana can't have that. So I just wanted it to keep going smoothly and make sure that everyone that's listening to your podcast is actually learning something. All right, because it's kind of tough right now. I know everybody wants to go outside. All right, everyone wants to go outside and start to walk around, go shopping, go to the mall, go to shows, but we have to put safety first, all right?
Absolutely, and most definitely. That's a very strong message sent. And you have a fundraiser that you have on GoFundMe as well. Plug that along with your social media. How can fans donate and help what you have in the works? Apparently it's something very big.
Well, basically, Prince Nana's working on a book right now. It's called The Embassy Forever, a pro wrestling memoir. All right. And, I'm posting different links on my social media page. All right. You can find me on social media at Prince King Nana. All right. At Prince King Nana, Nana, on Twitter, on Instagram. All right. If you want to follow me on Facebook, which I think I have way too many followers now, I might not be able to add you, but it's Nana, that's Nana, and then O, all right, like open, and then Banda, BAN as in Nancy, as in, nail, okay, BAN as in nail, and then D as in dog, O as in open, and then H as in hole, all right?
Perfect. Well, definitely the Jordan Garber Now followers will definitely give you a follow, and I'm going to spread the word as well of your book, and I look forward to reading it, that's for sure. And thanks for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
I appreciate being here, Jordan. All right, keep your head up. I look forward to seeing you in the big time one day. All right, and everybody out there, make sure that you support Jordan. He's a good guy. All right. He was originally going to be a foot nail clipper, but he's following his dream and becoming a referee and a podcast host. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, guys, thanks for listening to another great episode of the Jordan Garber Now podcast. None other than Franco Varga on the show, as well as a throwback interview with Prince Nana. We'll be back again next Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. For myself, Jordan Garber, and the Jordan Garber Now podcast, you guys have yourselves a great night, and we'll be back next week.